They say every building has a story, but some buildings hide stories so dark that even the walls seem to remember them. If you've ever lived in an old apartment, you know the feeling, the way certain doors stay shut, the way neighbors never talk about certain rooms. This story is about one of those places. A room at the very end of the hall. A room that no one stayed in for long. A room they say is cursed. The building was an old apartment complex on the edge of town. Cracked paint, flickering lights, the faint smell of damp wood in the halls. People moved in and out constantly, but one room remained strangely empty. Room 313, at the very end of the hallway. The landlord never spoke about it, and when asked, he would simply shake his head and mutter, "Some rooms are better left alone." But late one winter, a college student named Hamza moved in. Rent was cheap, and he didn't care about rumors. All he wanted was a quiet place to stay. The first night seemed normal. He unpacked his things, set up his small desk by the window, and fell asleep to the distant hum of the city. But at 3 a.m., he woke suddenly, not to a noise, but to silence. The kind of silence that feels heavy, pressing down on your chest. He glanced toward the hall. His door was closed, but the crack beneath it glowed faintly red, as if light was bleeding through from the hallway. Confused, he stepped closer and listened. Faint whispers, dozens of them. Low, overlapping voices chanting in a language he didn't understand. He opened the door quickly, expecting to catch pranksters in the act, but the hallway was empty. Pitch black. The glow vanished. Only silence remained. Shaken, he closed the door and went back to bed, telling himself it was a dream. The second night, the whispers returned. This time, they were inside the room. He sat up, his heart racing, as the voices circled around him, growing louder, closer, until he could almost feel breath on his neck. When he turned on the lamp, the sound stopped instantly. But in the reflection of the window, he swore he saw figures standing behind him. Blurry, faceless, vanishing the moment he turned around. By the third night, the room began to change. The wallpaper peeled in long strips, exposing dark stains beneath. The air smelled of rot, metallic and sour. Hamza noticed scratches on the floorboards, as if someone had been dragged toward the closet. He tried to ignore it, but dread clung to him like a weight. He couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he heard the voices, closer, sharper, calling his name. On the fourth night, it escalated. He woke to the sound of his door unlocking. Slowly, click by click. He stared in terror as the handle twisted and the door creaked open. No one entered, but the hallway stretched impossibly long, the end swallowed in darkness. And then footsteps. Slow, deliberate, echoing closer. He slammed the door shut and held it with all his strength, praying it would hold. The whispers returned, furious this time, screaming in unison. The next morning, Hamza had enough. He packed his bags and ran to the landlord, demanding answers. The old man's face turned pale. "I told you not to stay there," he said quietly. "That room, it was sealed years ago. No one should have had the key. But Hamza had the key. He'd been given it directly." Trembling, the landlord explained, years ago, a man had lived in room 313. He had gone mad, claiming the walls spoke to him, until one night neighbors heard screams. When police broke in, they found nothing but bloodstains and scratches on the walls. The man had vanished. Ever since, anyone who stayed there was never seen again. Hamza didn't sleep that night. He sat in the corner with every light on, clutching his phone. But at exactly 3 a.m., the lights flickered out. Darkness swallowed the room. The whispers returned, louder than ever, vibrating through the floor, through his bones. The closet door creaked open slowly, and in the blackness inside, two glowing eyes stared back at him. By morning, the landlord knocked on the door. No answer. He opened it with shaking hands. The room was empty. No suitcase. No clothes. No Hamza. Only the faint sound of whispers lingering in the air. And on the wall, scrawled in jagged letters, were the words, "Welcome home." And so the cursed room remains. Locked, silent, waiting. Some say if you stand at the end of that hallway at night, you'll hear whispers calling your name, begging you to open the door. But if you do, you won't be leaving. Because the room at the end of the hall doesn't just keep its secrets. It keeps you.